game is about sexual harassment.
That's right. Yes, I remember.
Okay, we brought it together. I came up with the initial idea, but we did on par because she's a feminist and was the curator of the book Quella Volta Che.
Which is why you should stop talking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Quickly realize this.
Yes.
Beatrix, tell me a little bit more. Just enough to get us started. You don't have to sell it or anything because we're just going to play. So.
I'm not sure how good I am with the rules because Filippo made the mechanics. So
Do together.
yeah. So the idea is to try and get the feeling of what it means to not only being harassed, but also being on the part of either the spectator or the person who harassed.
Right.
So
Right. Okay. Yes.
everyone is going to choose a character. We mainly, I wrote the characters, so it's all my fault. They are based on an Italian settings, so we have a variety of characters which are representative of all genders and all sexual orientation. Also, we have a variety of class and ethnicity.
So we have 3 people.
Yeah.
So we'll just pick 3 characters at
Yes.
random.
Yeah, not
at
random.
random, you can
Choose from a pool. The characters sit. There are very little.
Sure.
Stay in a card. Okay.
So excellent. So if we have
Something like that.
these characters, okay.
Okay.
So
Yes.
looking at them, I think that I want to. I think that I'm going to. I think I'm going to do Marina Mentori. Oh, she's a teacher, so Mentori. Okay, yes, Marina the teacher. Okay.
Okay, so if we're doing, I'm asking, we're doing a little, a short 5 minutes of the game, just to get a hang of it, or what? Just to understand.
Let's start and play along for a little bit and play. Maybe 5 minutes to me doesn't seem like much fun.
Yeah. Okay.
So I want to
Okay.
play for the fun, and
Okay.
we will. And I'm not going to have a time limit really
Okay.
in a very formal way.
Okay. Okay. Then
I'm not going to
I'll
say,
take-
okay, time's up.
I'll take one prop that we may need because the center mechanics of the game is like spione. It's a
Yes.
maneuver.
Yes.
Okay. So what happens is that we will pass along the object. We think that as a heavy object that must be passed around is like a talkie stick.
I
Okay.
kind of get the idea a little bit.
Okay,
Yes.
so
yes.
every time this happens, the center of the game is I say 2 phrases and push forward the narrative, what is happening, and then I pass it to another player who does the same.
When we pass it around, is it just to the left, to the left, to the left?
Mostly, or one time is to the left, another one time is to the
right,
right.
right, okay.
So to have a little change. And the idea then for the game now, what we have to do is we pick every one of us pick a character. So I'll pick just Marco Pini. Okay. So if I can get one.
Yes.
Yeah.
For me, okay. So I get Marco Pini.
Yeah, I'm going to do Miriam.
Okay, I'm going to look at these just a little bit.
Yeah.
And so Marco Pini, so 33. Oh, okay. Right. Charity. And then you are going to get Miriam? Yes. Al Fayed, yes. Undergraduate. Okay. Right, 23 undergraduate. Okay. So we have a teacher and a charity worker and a student. Yes.
Sì, scusami. Alright. So, for the playing part, I am the most qualified of 2 of us, so I'm the one that has to do some explaining.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the game has 5 phases. The first phase, this is now we explain a little of the rules. we are now doing this very fast. Okay, because I assume you will understand because there's nothing fancy.
Sure,
okay?
and also explaining as we go sounds
Yes,
good to me too.
Yes,
So,
yes. So what is important to know is this game has a I will not abandon you approach.
Yes.
This is important. And there are three safe words to use during play. The first one is slow down. When you have to use a veil on the scene. If anyone says something that is disturbing, and that can happen, anyone at any point in the game, regardless of who has the talking speak, can slow down.
Slow down, and then the other words?
Pause is to address bleed, mainly.
Yes.
So, okay, we need 5 minutes pause for too much is happening. I need something to address my feelings.
Right.
Okay?
And then
stop.
Right.
When something is wrong, happening at the table, we are not sure. Someone maybe can be an asshole or something like that. So stop.
Sure.
This is
Now,
the rewards.
what I really like is that slow down and pause are not instant censorship or shaming.
No.
They are just allow us to reorient a little.
Yes.
Which I think is much better than just flat stop done as a thing. That's the biggest stick and is a stick. And those are not sticks, and I like that.
And also, I think one of the important things is that the game has, as we thought it, the person who's mastering it should be already someone who has a background on the issue.
Sure.
So it's very important for this is a very important for us.
Okay.
Okay, then the other important rules are the I am and first person rule. One must always start a maneuver saying I am and the name of the character.
Ooh, I like that.
And the narrative, what happens, must always be explained and described in first person. So it's not, for example, I'm Marco Pini. I'm not saying I am Marco Pini and this is what happening to Marco Pini.
Yes.
I say I am Marco Pini. I see that this person does this to me, or this is happening. All is described through his eyes and senses. There is a little veiling on the physical appearances of the characters and their clothing. So we can describe their clothing and appearances, but only lightly, through a veil, because we don't want to know exactly what they are wearing. And
I also
We think it's very important.
I
to
get
pass
it.
the message.
I think I completely get what is. I think we'll talk afterward and I will ask.
Yes,
but I think I see something there. So yes.
Okay. Each scene will happen at a location, and we have a listing of location, and there is some here.
Can you pick a good one?
For example,
Beatrix,
a
maybe?
workplace during the day, a public place during
Yeah, but
the
Beatrix, I'm saying is go ahead and
Yes,
you know,
yes. And
tell me.
the thing is, we will choose one of them. It's not an example.
Right.
Okay, so there is a fixed
Right.
list, and for the first important phase, when I choose one for my character, it will be crossed. Others
Yes.
cannot be in the same place.
Yes.
Okay? And all the
Sorry.
story are works in parallel.
Sure,
Okay? So they're not intertwined.
Okay, interesting. Interesting.
And that's almost everything. At first glance, there is not a lot more.
Let's take it to that first part then.
Yes.
So let's find out where we are.
Yes. So in this moment, what happens is I am the starting player. Okay. I take the rule. Will be should be now the talking stick is covered in a cloth. Now we uncover, I take it, and from now on, only the player who has the talking stick can talk. That should be the case. So, first this second phase, how it works. We introduce the characters and we do a scene on the character. When the scene is over, then we pass to another character. So one character at a time. Okay? And we maneuver the scene for each character, and the scene ends when I'm the owner of the character, say, okay, I'm good with it. The idea is a calm scene, an everyday life scene, without conflicts, without crisis. There is no conflicts, no mechanics for conflicts in this
Just
first
to
phase.
get to know our
A feeling.
characters.
Okay, so where is the listing? I am Marco Pini. I'm a doctor. I first read aloud my character for everyone. So I'm Marco Pini. I'm 33 years old. I work for a charity. My possible relationships are a wife, a father, a colleague, a teen daughter, a football mate. Okay, so I pick an outdoor public place. So outdoor public place, and I make the framing of the scene. So I say where we are, where I am, what is happening right now, and I say I am Marco Pini. I am in a park, where a public park. There are trees, there are fields, there is a small football, soccer field where people go to play, and I'm there with my friends. So again, I'm Marco Pini, and I put my sweaty T-shirt on my sack, and I pick a new one, and I say to my friend Mario, yes, we had a very fun game.
So Mario said, yes, we should do this more often. But while we are talking, I heard the scream of some kids. They are playing in the football field near us, and one of them has go down because he has thrown his ankle.
I am continuing your scene.
Yes, yes.
And I say, but I don't say I for Marco, or do I?
In this case, we have only one character. Is it clear who is
We are all Marco.
We are all Marco. Yes. And another phrase we can use: time out, to interrupt the flow play and talk.
Yes, perfect. Time in.
Yes.
So, I and my friend
Mario.
Run to where the kids are playing, and we see that some of the kids are just still playing and not really caring about the hurt kid. Some others are a little worried. So we go over and see what is happening. It's hard to tell with an ankle. Is it broken, or does it just hurt a little bit? The kid is younger than the others, and so is hard to talk to. But I'm going to say that we, Marco and Mario, actually discover for the first time that we working together can really help the kid. Okay. And the kid calms down, and we can see and work the ankle a little bit to see just how bad it is.
Okay. I'm happy because I see that the kid now stopped crying and is regaining some. He was maybe more worried about what making himself look bad in front of his friends than actual physical pain. So I see that he's calming now, and I'm happy of that.
So now we are happy to leave him with his friends. He's getting up, and Mario says to me, "Well, okay, all is well. What ends well. Maybe we can go grab a beer together."
Perfect timing. I love the idea. Hot and sweaty, remember?
Yes.
And a little emotional spike. I feel this is the perfect moment for a beer and looking around the square. It's obvious where to go. It has outdoor seating, and it's so I say that's the place. Check the time. Everybody has their iPhone. I check my phone. I've got 45 minutes. Let's go.
Okay. And let's say that's enough for me.
Okay.
I say that we can wrap the scene at this point.
Sure.
Okay. So I pass it left. Okay. And location. Okay.
Okay. So,
My personality.
yes. My name is Miriam Al-Fayed. I'm 23 years old and I'm an undergraduate. My possible relationships are my elder brothers, classmate, basketmate, my uncle and my grandma. Oh, sorry, I read from one. My mother, my best friend, the boy I have a crush on, and my elder brother. Okay, so I'm going to choose pick a place. 20. Okay. So it's daytime, and I am just outside the university. My elder brother is going to pick me up. He promised after my lesson, and we are going together. We have to go shopping because tomorrow is our mother's birthday, and we want to find a nice gift. He texted me that he is a bit late because of the traffic, so I'm just standing there looking at my phone, scrolling my Facebook home and waiting for him.
So Thomas is this great boy in my class, and he is funny, and he always has a kind thing to say, and the other kids really like him, and I have not yet been able to say anything cool in Thomas' presence, although I sometimes die in my mind when I worry that I said something that was not cool, but other times I'm hoping one day I will say the right thing. It's kind of hard with my parents and my family. They have opinions, and it might be a little hard for me sometimes to socialize. So I'm looking. The reason I say all this is because guess what I'm seeing in my Facebook? I am seeing that my friend request has been accepted. Thomas has accepted my friend request, and all the traffic and all of the noise of the street and wondering where my brother is and if he's telling the truth or anything like that disappears just for a few seconds.
Sorry if I get it right. We're waiting for the brother.
Yeah.
Okay. And Thomas should be there or not?
No.
Thomas is just
the crush. The boy I have a crush on.
Okay. Okay. Then I'm happy, and as I smile, I looking at its photos that I can now see better on Facebook because some of them are private. My brother arrives and asks me, "What's up? You see, very, very happy." That usually means something.
I just got giggles. I don't want to tell anything to my brother, not yet. And I try to speak about something else, even if I'm blushing, and ask him, "Okay, so what should we get to grandma for her birthday, I really love to give her something which is meaningful and she will love. And he says to me, well, maybe I know a place. Let's go together.
Well, brothers and sisters don't always get along even when they're trying. And I am a little frustrated because my brother keeps suggesting very cheap, like a picture of the Italian state that we are in, like on a coffee cup or something like that, and it's just not working. He's very bad at this, and so it takes me a little while, but I'm finally able to convince him that really something with some class is necessary.
I see a small painting that in a gallery while we are passing by. We just hopping from shop to shop because we cannot agree on something. But when I see this little painting, I think that's just it. So I look at my brother and I say, "That's it. We're taking that." And my brother says, "What?"
It's always like this. So I'll start talking and explaining why it's good to me. And I know that my brother, there is a thing my brother can't resist, my speech, because I'm very chatty and he's not. So at some point he looks at me and says, well, if you really are convinced, okay, let's do as you want.
Victory unlocked. My brother is worn down completely and is more than happy to finish this errand and to wrap.
That's enough. That's enough.
Okay. So, yes, it's your turn. Yeah, you can keep the talking stick. So, introduce your character.
All right. Well, I am Marina Mentori. I am 28 years old, and I'm a teacher. My possible relationships are a math teacher, a partner, father of a student, school head, and my mother.
And location. You can pick a location from here.
Well, my location I think is very clear to me. This is going to be one of the. It will be at the university.
Workplace.
And Marina is. I am a junior teacher. This is my first year, and so I'm teaching mostly the first year students in a large general class. I am still looking at the long guidelines. I am in my office and I am looking at the long guidelines for how I am supposed to act with students and their parents and the policies of the university, and how if I get in trouble it's not the university's fault, and all of the Marina is thinking that this is a longer set of rules than her textbook for the class. So is looking through these, and it is time to speak with students when they can come and talk for their classes, and nobody is coming.
Okay. I feel a little frustrated because that was not what I had in mind when I took this job. Because I think all this paperwork is really not necessary. And I wait like 10 minutes for students to come in, and when they don't, I get up and go to my head of department of my course, so I can talk to him about scheduling, because something is not precisely right.
Okay, I knock on the door, but no one answers. So go back, and I'm still thinking if I should really go home. When accidentally I met my fellow teacher, my math colleague, and he's smiling at me. He's such a good guy. And he said to me, "Oh well, yes, I think you forgot that our student had their introductory lecture with the provost, didn't you?" "Oh yes, I did. I think I'm always so distracted. This work is getting really hard on me." And he says, "Well, don't worry. Don't worry in this. I forgot too. And no, I was supposed to have a lecture and no one came. And I was kind of desperate. And then I looked at my planner and I said, oh right, there are no students there because they are not supposed to be there today." Well, we are kind of absent-minded teachers.
Could we possibly be any more stereotypical? And at this point, I am relieved. I'm laughing a little bit, and I say, well, that looks like we suddenly have a free hour. And I might even joke a little bit that the provost has been known to be a little bit boring, and maybe this isn't the worst thing that ever happens. So now is a great time. This is the coffee bar in front of the building is open, and it's a perfect time to go and get some fresh air and get a break from looking over all the rules as well. And this is, I'm feeling actually, I felt separate from everything and isolated from my work and what I wanted to do, and now all of a sudden it's back in place. It's back in place, and we will go on.
Okay. Just a quick timeout to remind that it's the owner of the character that chooses when the scene is to wrap up.
I see. Okay.
Okay. So because that's look like I want to wrap it up. It's
I want you to go a little more.
Okay. So timing in. Okay. So we go to the coffee shop together and we order some cappuccino or mocha latte or something like that, something to eat, and we spend a little time together chatting about teaching, how it works. For me, it's all really new. They're already new. But my colleague has some years more of experience, not too many. But so yes, he's giving me some useful advice.
While we are talking, I cast my eyes on a newspaper which has been left there, and it's open on the book review. So I just got kind of distracted and looked at it, and I asked my colleague, whose name, by the way, is Paolo. I read very good reviews of the new Camilleri book. Have you read it?
What book was it? I didn't hear.
Camilleri is one of the chief.
It's a detective stories.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, who knew? But the provost's speech is long over by the time we are done talking about the different books in the series about the detective, and it's a bit of a rush to get back in time. I make it back just in time for a student, and so it was a little stressful to get back in time, but I did, and it's time to talk to students about their test and deal with their problems. But I'm feeling very energized by the whole thing. So that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. So the talking stick comes back to me, that I'm the starting player, and now we go into the third phase of the game. That is the harassment phase. The first thing we have to do, and we need some 6 phases dice. Yes. 3 would be more than enough. Yes. And each of us rolls 1.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So here.
Oh, sorry.
So we have a 5 and a 3. They are the two highest number because we have now chosen the victims of the harassment. I get a 1. We have 3 players, so there are only 2 victims. My character, Marco Pini, is now out of the game. He will not be back.
Interesting. Okay.
So now the game focuses only on 2 of them, and they are the victims. So what happens now? In this phase, there are conflicts. We must check. We must draw 3 boxes in our character sheet. I didn't have prepared for beforehand. Sorry. And because every time someone says something about your character that you don't want that to happen, you can stand up and say enough and check one of the boxes. If you can't check a box, then and the conflict that follows this, then the scene will be over. When the conflict is initiated by saying enough, what happens? The owner takes so many dice as the number of boxes
yes.
checked. Okay, so 1, 2, or 3, and rolls the dice. If there is a 5 or a 6, then the conflict is won in the sense that the owner gets to rewrite what is happening and close the scene toward a better ending.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay. The purpose of all the players in this phase is to maneuver the fiction toward bad things to happen, toward an harassment. Note that harassment and assault are not the same thing.
Yes.
The scene can go to an assault, but we as players must not rush forward it. It can happen, but it's not the main course.
Assault is our job at this point. No, sorry. Harassment is our job at this point.
Yes.
Assault is emergent.
Yes.
If it is, but that is all.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And all the other rules still apply. The only rules more is where we maneuver toward what we maneuver the scene and the conflicts. And the third one that I was forgotten is now is not one character and then one other, but we intertwine the stories.
Yes.
So I'm the starting player. I must every player must do or open a scene on a player, a character that has not a scene, or maneuver one that is already open. So I'm the one starting. I will be opening a scene on one of them. Then I will pass it to the right this time. Goes in the right fashion. Okay. When all the character scenes are closed, then this phase is over. One thing to note is if the scene closes for the better, that is, it does not better in the worse, then it's better not to bring in a third character or a third party that saves the day. There are bystanders, there are other people, but they are somewhat disconnected from what happens. They do not establish a meaningful relationship with the victim. Okay? And again, that's all. Yes. So I must then open a scene. Okay, we have then name again? Miriam, and your name?
Marina.
Marina. Okay, Miriam and Marina. Okay. The locations. Okay.
Should we cross off locations? We have
while we play, I had on the sheet, but now it's another phase. We can choose again.
Starting again.
From,
Okay.
Yes, it was a good question. So workplace. And this time is very important to start every maneuver with I am, because that must be clear what we are talking about. So I am sorry again. Marina, yes. I am a Marina. I am at university. It's late in the day, so everybody is going home. I am closing my office and I take my things, and I'm a little distracted because all of this is new for me, and I'm lost in my thoughts while I walk to the exit of the university.
As I'm walking to the, I take public transportation to get to where I live, and at that same place, perhaps a place for the bus, if that makes sense, culturally, then one of the students that I talked to today, when I was in a good, fun mood after my funny experience and not having to sit through the speech and everything, and so I'd had a good time talking with this student and felt like a really good teacher. And the student comes up at the bus stop and wants to talk, and is the student's name, let's see, Antonio. And Antonio is very handsome and very, no, I think I am wrong. Antonio is actually a little bit lonely, and maybe a little bit into a lot of games and a lot of video games and things like that. And so, but Antonio really enjoyed our talk. So Antonio comes up to me and says, hey, and is wants to have the conversation, and I am kind of tired, but might as well. So I'm in this conversation, and it's more like a friend conversation. And at one point, Antonio says, "Can I call you Marina?" While I am just answering just enough to keep the conversation going, and he's getting more and more and more into the conversation, then asks me, "Can I call you Marina?"
Can I open another scene for another character, right? You said last time I can open the scene for another character.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
So, I will pick another. So
You may want to push the camera a little behind, so you are also in the shot.
Yeah, the plan was for my little nose
Yes.
to be involved. So perfect. Yes.
private home. So we are. It's afternoon, and my brother and I went to visit a couple of his friends. They are older than me. They are his age, so about between 27 and 30. Their brother and sister. We are having something to drink together, some chips, and I'm sitting near Saul, which is my brother friend, and he is a handsome man, is older than me, and I always find his mother very fascinating. But every time I look at him, I can't stop thinking about Thomas and how he accepted my request. And I can't even compare it to him now.
Okay, I'm Marina, and I feel a little awkward when Antonio asks me if he can call me by my name, because I'm new to this teaching things, and I don't know, do teachers usually are called by name by their students or not? I wonder a little, and I lose the pace of the conversation for a moment, and he says then, okay, then I'll call you Marina, and he didn't wait for my answer.
I am sure there was something in the rules that I was reading that day about this, but I can't remember if it had anything to do with being off campus as well as on campus, or in my what happens if you just meet a student somewhere else. And so since I can't remember it, I'm not going to speak up. I guess I'm just going to remember to check this tomorrow. And I really wish that maybe we weren't taking the same bus, because that's going to prolong this. This would have been, I guess, okay if, but I'm starting to feel, I don't really want to be talking with Antonio this long, and I'm trying to distance myself from him, but when the bus comes, he sits down next to me. And it's just, this is really, I've sat next to 1,000 people on the bus. This is the first time I am really not happy with any incidental contact. I'm really not happy with the sense that I am next to the window and there's no way out. And at this moment, I think I need to say, this is enough, I need to sit alone.
Okay, so time out. I didn't say that, sorry, that was my mistake. You can invoke enough when other player.
I see. Okay, so that's me. I am trapped.
Yes.
And it is really shocking. I have already had a little incidental, very innocent enjoyment of men or a man today, just as a colleague and friend, but it was a nice feeling. The reversal on this is almost sickening. And I don't even know if Antonio means it. Maybe he's just awkward.
Yes.
Also, I noticed some people on the bus staring at me, and they are kind of making comments, maybe, or I don't know if it's just in my head, but I feel like not as pressure around me right now, like I'm almost convinced to have heard someone say, oh, what that woman is doing with that boy, so I feel kind of ashamed of myself, and I think I really don't know what to think, and Natalia is still pressuring me with a lot of questions, which I'm not sure I'm able to answer now, because there is a lot of confusion going around there, so I just take my phone out and pretend to look at the message, and he's trying to lean on my shoulder, which is a very strange thing.
I am Miriam, and I say and we were together with I was with my friends, and what was the man name? Saul. And Saul for some time all together drinking coffee and all, and then I went to the bar for some chips and things, and Saul came to me and said, so Miriam, you're always checking me out like you have something on your mind, but you seem very, very shy. So I thought maybe it's time for me to make a move.
I am Miriam. I say, let's go back and sit down with everyone. And I am just checking something. So using again my phone as the wonderful device, the barrier, like a shield. If you dive into your phone, you can block this. You can block people. So from your head, from your space, of course. So punch the Facebook, and Tomas has written for everyone to see on Facebook. He says, "Hi there, new friend. What's really under that headscarf and everything else that you're wearing?"
I think I'm shocked, and I'm really sorry, and I don't realize what's happening. I'm confused, and then suddenly I feel like a touch on my shoulder, and it's something strange, and I feel just like I want to run, but I'm panicked and blocked.
I'm Marina, and I'm checking my phone, trying to block all these things and trying to distance myself in my mind, at least from Antonio. But then I see with the corner of my eye this is playing with his phone earlier, but now is looking like he's trying to take a picture of us together, and it does that.
That's enough.
That's enough. Okay.
That's enough.
That's enough.
Yeah.
So now you have to roll one dice, check a box, okay, on your enough.
Oh wait, that's my character.
Yes.
I cannot say it's enough.
No, you can
can.
say
No
when
one
I'm
else.
an over.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay, the rule is you cannot, because you cannot say bad things happen and then you say yourself that's enough.
Right, but I can do it transitively.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
When I say something bad, you can say enough. So one dice, two. Then what I said happens. You lost the conflict, and
The picture is taken.
yes, what's happened happened.
Yes.
So you have now the talking stick, and the games goes on. And of course, the scene will go further into badness.
And so I am Miriam, and I am trapped between the inner world of my telephone and the outer world of this man. And I start to I have to react physically. This is the worst I have ever felt, I think, and I'm sick and humiliated. In my whole class just is reading this, and what will my parents think? What do I think? Oh, and then the man here, the friend, he's grinning and grinning and grinning like a dog.
Enough. Oh, that's a failure too. So that is happening.
Okay.
I'm Marina. I'm shocked. I don't know how to react. In my head I play this, and I want just to grab his phone and smash it. But what I'm really doing is that I'm starting to cry, and he looks at me like with this kind of strange puppy eyes, dog while saying, "Well, why are you crying, Marina? Why are you? Well, what's wrong?"
I'm Marina, and I say you cannot take a picture of me and you without me asking. That is just plain sick and wrong. But it just doesn't understand. and I said it probably too loud, because also one of the men on the bus that earlier had done some snarky comments says, hey, chill out, woman. It's not happening. Nothing is happening. Just calm down. But he says that in a very offensive way, and I try some more, actually.
So, okay.
You had come out because you had a question, maybe?
Yes, which is, can I cut to a new situation later, or do we stay right here?
The idea is to stay here. We can walk around to a new location, and you can skip a little bit, but no going far away.
Right. Well, in that, okay. I'm going to say then that the bus comes to my stop, and I have to get out, and he moves to let me out, but not far enough. So at this point, I am finally sure, as of this moment, I am sure that this is inappropriate contact. I can, his body is just enough. Maybe he meant it or something, but I'm sure he meant it. There's too much contact to get out, but I just want to get out. And I get off the bus and I go, and before I go, he says goodbye, and he says the name of the stop, as if he's acknowledging this is my stop and he knows it. And so, and I go through the dark streets now in, a haze of conflicted anger. In fact, that's what I feel, is just this overwhelming anger as I get closer and closer to my place.
I'm Miriam, and I'm trying to back now from contact, and I feel Sal grabbing my hand, and I'm kind of shocked and horrified. I let it out. What do you want from me? And it just says, calm down and do nothing. I just see that you are upset, and I just want to. I'm here to help you. What's wrong? What's happening?
I say I'm Miriam, and I say a guy of my class is making fun of me in front of all of my friends on Facebook, and I didn't think he could be so mean.
Kids, he says, forget it. And I am Miriam. He says, kids, and dismissively, forget it. And I am also a little shocked, because he was saying some things to me a minute ago that were very forward, very, sexually aggressive, I feel now. And all of a sudden he's supposed to be my big helper, my big, this big guy who's to tell me, no, I lose my temper. And I smack him in the chest 3 or 4 times, and the guy is like, doing this, and my brother comes over, and the first thing he says is, hey, your sister's crazy little,
Again, a 4. No, two dice.
4 and 2.
No, that's
okay.
Not like it. I'm Maria. I'm keeping thinking in my head what just happened. When I heard the vibration of my phone, I take it out and I see a message on Facebook which is from no, my friend is from another message, and normally I don't check that, but this time I'm just curious, and it's kind of a nightmare because Antonio is telling me that now he knows where I live, and he has a picture of us, and so it would be better for me to behave.
That
Yeah, moment.
might be enough for me.
Okay, then
That's enough.
Okay, then roll the dice.
Yes.
Yes.
5.
Doesn't happen.
Okay. Then you get to change what he said, she said, and wrap this scene because it's going to end
Sure.
in a
Positive way.
way.
Yes. Antonio has actually said, I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. The picture's gone. The picture's deleted. I'm very sorry. Sorry.
And that's it. Okay. Then talking stick gets back to me, and the scene about Marina is over. So we have only one scene to play. That is Miriam. Okay. My brother says. Yeah, sometimes she's a little bit crazy, but usually not that much. And I look at him and I think, what the hell? Why isn't he defending me? He's my brother.
And I will say that. I will say, what kind of brother are you? You're supposed to take my side. And I'll say, take me home. Take me home now. We need to go. And the friends, whose name is Saul. That's right. Saul says, oh, come on, settle down. Relax a little. We're all friends here. Come on, let's go sit down. I'll get the chips. He picks up the chips. Says, "Come on, let's go sit down."
I'm still really angry with my brother, and I sit down, but I'm not really there. I'm thinking about something else, and I just want to really to scream and to say fuck off to everyone and just go home. And I said, well, why? Well, it's afternoon, it's not night, I can take a bus and go home. And I finally decide I get up, and I'm trying to leave, but Sal again grabs me by the shoulder and say, well, don't act crazy, we are among friends, and you have such a pretty face, don't cry, don't be angry.
And when he says I'm Miriam, and when he says that I feel angrier, but I see all my friends laughing at me because they think that's nothing, and I feel more humiliated, and my face I can see flaring up. I usually have fair skin, but I know now that I'm right purple.
I know.
So, three,
Push it out.
a 6. So it ends well. Okay.
Okay, so Sal's sister stands up and says, okay guys, I think you have done enough for tonight. Okay, let's go Miriam, let's have a light chat. Perhaps maybe we can have a walk outside and look at something you like. And she takes my hand, she comes to me and says, don't worry, they are just stupid boys. They didn't mean minutes to talk this way, but they are just stupid. They are immature. Let's go out and have some fun with you guys.
Is this a rap or?
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a wrap.
It's a wrap, and this harassment phase is over. Okay. So now we have the fourth phase, the penultimate one, choices and epilogue. Okay, so
I think I had.
so
Yeah.
yes. So now every victim's owner must write down two sentences about what happened, starting with Quella Volta Che, that time when, or Me Too,
Me too.
the American
No,
hashtag.
I know Me Too. Say that again. I'm going to write a little bit about what happened,
Yes, and then it will be maybe read aloud. But first thing, you have to write it down. So upper sentences, not in small, not in length, very lengthy.
I was just reflecting about how to translate this manufacturing, which I think is one of the problems.
Yeah, we'll see.
This might be too much.
Fine.
I just sort of felt it all. So
It's fine.
do I read it? Oh no, I'm sorry. We have one pen.
That's why she write it down. I say what is going to happen. Now, starting from me, I am not a victim owner, so I have nothing to do in this phase. I will pass it to the left.
Okay.
When one victim's owner gets the talking stick, she must do a choice. Either the victim tells someone about what happened in a meaningful and builds a relationship about it, tells what happened to a friend, a colleague, a member of the family, or whatever, and so the player must read aloud what is written down, or the victim chooses not to speak about it to anyone, and so the card is shredded and nobody will ever talk about it again.
Right.
Even when the game is ended. Yes, the idea.
I get it. Yes.
Yes,
I
the
see.
idea is to have written this down on a post-it and to attach to the chest. But we don't have it now, so it's okay. But that's the idea. So now I have nothing to do. Then to the left. Yes, always in first person.
And Miriam, I'm thinking about what what happened. I'm really deluded. I'm trying to open up with my friend, but I feel like I can't because somehow I feel like conflicted, I feel betrayed, and I hate myself. I hate who I am because I mean I don't know if I really choose to wear this veil. I don't know if it's mine and why it's the reason why my friends aren't accepting me. Maybe it's just I'm a stranger. Did I really belong here? Have I ever belonged here? And I just crumble down and I keep everything to myself. And I've kept it a secret for so long. But one day I saw a movie about a young woman who was sexually harassed when she was a kid, and that all her life went crazy because of that. And I realized that me too, I have something to tell. So I decided to do the only thing I'm able to do. I decided to make a story out of it and write it down for everyone to read. So now I'm going to read Quella Volta Che. I was offended by my classmates on Facebook about my religion and about my identity, and my friends, instead of standing up to me, they just told me to calm down, that I was just overreacting, and I felt alone and betrayed.
I am Marina, and I am very boring as a teacher and as a colleague for days. The work gets done and the material is covered in class, but I don't say anything interesting to anybody, and I don't say anything sharing with anybody, and the other colleagues quickly get the message and just stop paying attention to me, or in some sort of human social reactive way just seem to stop caring about that themselves. So I quickly realized that I'm starting to think about resigning from the job, and I don't have any other life plans. And perhaps that seems really extreme on reflection, to change my whole life, to think that my life up until now just has to be junked. And I decide to go and talk to somebody professional about this. They have services at the university. And it's very embarrassing. This is for people who have problems, right? People who have disorders, people who, have real problems. People who are, this is not for me. Maybe this is not, I don't have a real problem. But I realize that if I don't go in, the next place I'm going to go is to the department head and quit. So this is what I tell the person that I talk to, who is, at first I'm disappointed that he's a man, but you know what? He's kind of a man who is, he's older and he looks like he's seen it all. Maybe he's seen something like this. Maybe. So I'm going to tell him, maybe it was my fault. It's my responsibility to set the boundaries for these kids. Maybe nothing really happened, just a bus ride and a bad choice by a young man. And he's sorry. But I am still so mad.
So now the choices phase is ended, and we take now a moment of call.
Mandated pause.
Yes, a moment of pause. And what happens now is the last phase of the briefing. It's a little of a large style debriefing. That means that now the talking stick gets in the middle, covered again.
Yeah.
Everybody can talk anytime, freely, and the I am and first person rule are out.
Right.
Now we talk about character,
people.
only in third person. That Marina happens that, or to Miriam happened that, not to me or I. So we make a little distance between us and the character, and now we do a little discussion about what is really our feelings during play, what happened, and what we think about harassment and such and such. At this stage of the game, we have only a few loose questions for the starting player to ask everybody, and then is how you felt about your character, why you did your choice.
Let's do it.
Yes. So starting with you, Ron. Why you take this choice to go to talk to someone or not? What you felt your character was feeling?
My character was feeling the edge of a cliff. That it seemed as though everything was okay, but she could not get away from the idea that this was just the edge of a cliff. She would not have. She had to drop off the edge of the cliff, or if she quit the job, even that she would maybe feel the same way, and then have to cut out whatever she did next.
You really felt responsible for what happened?
I think that Marina could talk herself into feeling responsible, and that she was looking for some guide, maybe in those rules, or maybe in the culture, or some narrative that would actually let her know if she was, and there was nothing. So when she is saying maybe she doesn't really feel responsible, but she can find no articulation, no way of sentences, one sentence after the other, that actually would establish whether anybody else would agree that she wasn't responsible. So she's the kind of person who, when she's feeling conflicted, she will say the other person's point of view to kind of jump into the other person's voice. And so she feels like everybody would say, maybe it's your fault. So it's almost as though she's projecting that voice almost in self-defense. Mm-hmm. You know, you won't say that I'm saying something crazy if I say what I think you're saying.
Yes.
And so it's hard for her to stand, and that's why it finishes, but I am still so mad. Her own voice will not let her blanket with a softer way to say it. That's how I felt.
That's very interesting. I felt about this. The bus scene was very paranoid in a way, because it was very claustrophobic. The idea of being closed in a space two times. First time in the seats, and then by the younger man, and then closed in the tin can.
Right.
So for
that
me,
little square
yes,
that she sat in the bus,
and
I really felt that.
It was double, because it's not only a bench in a park. Then okay, maybe if I have to walk away, I have still to have some contact with him, but then that's an open space. For me, it was something claustrophobic, because it was even if I stand up, I'm still closed. So for me, it was something harrowing, maybe for too many a strong word, but it was something strong for me.
Yeah, I felt that Marina's storyline was very well played. It was quite realistic, and sometimes was quite difficult for me because I have read quite a few of the letters which were very similar with us, real letters that were addressed to us. So it was kind of really emotional.
And
About my character, about Miriam, I think she felt betrayed for sure, and she felt also confused because what sometimes harassment do is that it triggers a questioning process that you do to yourself. Is this my fault? Is this something? Did I do something wrong? And also because she's young, and when you are younger, it's even more difficult because you are always questioning yourself in a way. You are trying to find your identity. And of course, if you come from like a minority culture, it's even more difficult because the world outside is rarely understanding. Maybe others may not care about your heritage, but very few of them are understanding, and they don't even understand that what may seem a joke is something that hurts very much.
What I felt with Miriam, first of all, was that I looked at the role of who the two victims was going to be, and I felt, oh no, I didn't want Miriam to be one of the victims. I could tolerate either of the other characters. I could not tolerate Miriam being targeted because the jaws of the trap were so strong. And when the external, immediate, real person potential threat appeared, and I knew the other jaw of the trap was coming from inside the phone. That if your adult world is infringing on you, you can go to your friends. If your friends are infringing upon you, you can go to the adults. And both of them snapped shut on her at once. And I knew it had to happen the second that the stick passed to me, and I felt very awful. The world was a terrible place, but I couldn't deny that it was a terrible place. I had to be the other side of that trap, and that to me was the almost metaphysical in its power of both directions happening like that. There was literally nowhere safe to be.
Yes. Also, what I felt bad about it was also all the friends, all the brother, all the social circle around her totally dismissed her as nothing important. So it was not the problem that was not important. Right. It was her that was not important.
Yeah, I think that this was a very good example of harassment and not assault in both cases, which is so much, it's the grayness that we want to address, because in Antonio's situation, we will never know. But you can see why a young man would find himself, I can see why a young man would find himself doing that and talk himself into being inappropriate in a couple of different ways. And it was really the role was his moral choice about whether he would double down and or whether he would completely would turn out not to be that guy. No, he did it. I'm not saying he didn't do everything he did, but whether there was some reflection possible. But in the other one, so Antonio I saw very much as an understandable participant in what might happen between people. Miriam's situation was completely different. There was a malevolence to both of the men. That they were. I get the idea they were that, and I can understand why when we when the role succeeded, you didn't have one of the men dial back, because no, they were benefiting from what they did.
Yes. Yes.
And that to me was where Miriam's situation was not just human, the hassles of being human. Miriam's situation smelled of evil to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So at this point of the game, that ends only when we are discussing, of course, and at the end the idea is we don't have it now and all of the people a flyer with information about where to get help, where to get professional help, because one thing that maybe I didn't stress enough is that this is not a therapeutical device. This is a game, an experience intended to explore a theme, but if for any reason, this because there is also a stop or a pause, then and you feel you have the need to get help, then you go to professional help.
Yeah, and also one of the things we didn't say at the beginning is that that's why it's very important to have someone who's trained to lead the game, because what might happen, and from my point of view, is that maybe someone who has been harassed and has lost some kind of the trait of it may have a problem with this game, because the emotion can bring up.
Possibly. I have, for some years, experimented somewhat aggressively with transgressive play, potentially transgressive play, and discovering how far I Will Not Abandon You can go and still be a positive experience. And I think that I would value the strength of a person who has had these experiences, and almost instead of presupposing that person would be the most broken and the most vulnerable in terms of melting down or not being able to tolerate it, then maybe that person is the one who can kind of look everybody in the eye and say, this is real, and I'm going to take the lead on showing you how real this is. And so I'm saying what you can do with what if. That what if can be a dangerous place to go when you make up what that person is like because of their experiences. So I guess I'm very interested in learning through play all of the nuances of past experience. Does that make sense? It's fascinating to see my own design be retuned so effectively, almost to the point of saying, what was I doing messing around with spies when when it serves well, or something like it serves so well for this. I really appreciate the point about it not being itself therapy, because there are role players, and I'm not saying what if, I'm thinking of real role players who, let's face it, who are kind of therapy junkies. They want to get into that space, and it is inappropriate in a non-professional situation to make your friends into your therapist, and there are people who, that is a line that I think would be more frightening to cross, because I know there are people who do it. I'm not speculating about what a person might do. So I really appreciate that statement. No, we are going into this together. We are not here to hold your hands.
In the Italian first draft, for the one that we presented for the Game Chef Italian edition, the manual, because it was must be a manual in this case, was each phase has a text or more text about that the talking player must read to explain the game. So the part about the I will not abandon your approach at the end ends with the strong statement, this is not therapy.
I think it's very important. That's right.
Because there is a line between we will address strong content and I will not abandon you, and we will do therapy. This is
Yes, of course.
The play is the thing. We are here. We are making fiction.
Yes.
We are making fiction, and the play is the thing, and we are going to do it.
Yes.
We have a play. If you really don't want to, you can stop.
Yes.
But that's what we're here to do. So I think that really makes sense. I really enjoyed myself. Well, in the way that these games enjoyed. And including a degree of emotional lurching that I think is exactly what this kind of fiction should do. And I also think that I'd like to go through some of the mechanics a little bit kind of on my own and give some thoughts on that. But I do think that your basic structure is in great shape. There's a lot. I don't know if there is really much more design. I would like to reflect on that. Or whether it is now a matter of saying, what is the presentation that will be most constructive? There's two kinds of construction, right? Construction for the enjoyment of play. How do I play? Construction for the larger mission. And the presentation to facilitate both of those is a good question. Most games don't have a second level of presentation requirement, and so that becomes the next creative question. Do you want a tone of presentation, or do you want, for lack of a better word, almost a clinical? I'm talking about the way the words are written instructionally. And I don't really want an answer right now, but I'm thinking of the range. It could be
yes.
It could be a warm tone.
Yeah, we had thought about it.
We have talked about it. We didn't have now the
That's okay. I'm interested in the ideas.
Yes,
I'm not interested in this manuscript.
Yeah,
I want to. We are talking.
Yeah.
That's
Please.
We were thinking of rewriting, because I'm one of the editor of this book, which is a collection of real stories. We were thinking about writing up some examples of Quella Volta Che, of messages which are based on the real one, and of course they are fictional, to set the tone. Because what's interesting about all these messages is that they are, of course, very personal, but not just in content, but also in the tone that is used. So our idea is to set the player on the kind of mood that, well, this is really about your characters and your personality. So your approach will depend on your psychology.
Yes.
Does it make sense?
Perspective or something like that. Yes. So that's fine. So
and these cards to explain how it fits in the game. Before the character are chosen, the cards, we should be about 40 of them, are dealt to the players, only 3 each, and are read aloud.
Yes.
So at the beginning of the game, one reads a pre-made Quella Volta Che story, and at the end of the game, the victim writes them own.
Right.
Okay. So this
is interesting. I mean, the question is how much is over-engineered.
Yeah.
So now we play with those levels and see what happens.
Yes.
So there's a rawness to it that doesn't need dressing up, right? A power to it that doesn't need too much package of routine around it.
Yes.
So sometimes you kind of just want to say, no, we are. The power is there. We are going into it.
Yes.
Like a Harley.
Yes.
We don't need all the fancy motorcycle things. So One last thing. This is not really a suggestion, but just let you know where a person's mind can go.
Yes.
And I'm speaking also of the author of the Trespass for Spiona. So, if I didn't disclose this, if I didn't reveal it, she never talked. It really chilled me to realize, and the most appropriate thing to do is to take it away from the table and not throw it away. Because Marina will never be able to throw it away. And of course you cannot make a person do it, but if you say so, just the chill that goes down the spine, that by not going there, this is yours.
To keep and carry. Yes.
And that just gave me, the right feeling, so I thought I'd share that.
Yes.
So, but anyway, I'm going to stop the recording.
Yes.
And